What's going on, guys? Today we are going to be going over nutrition. And in the last video, if you didn't watch that, I didn't really go into the specifics of what kinds of foods that you should be eating. I went into more of the calories and the macros in general and how to set that, stuff up for yourself. But today we're going to actually go over the kind of foods that your diet should consist of. So let's just get right into it. Let's start with your protein sources. Okay. So let's just go down the list here. We have chicken, ground beef, eggs, steak, salmon, yogurt, and whey protein. These are these are the food options I stick with probably 80% of the time, to be honest. They're easy to track, and they have a good amino acid chain profile, which is exactly what I'm looking for when I'm trying to build muscle as efficiently as possible. And just to go through a little bit of the specifics, the chicken, I specifically stick to chicken breast. The reason I stick to chicken breast is because chicken thighs can be kind of fatty. So if I want to lower that a little bit, especially if I'm trying to cut down a little bit, I'll stick with chicken breast. If I'm bulking, I'm like in a lean bulk, I could maybe get away with some chicken thighs. Ground beef. Now, ground beef is the same thing. You could get really lean ground beef or you could get really fatty ground beef. I would stay away from the fatty ground beef as much as possible because there's probably saturated fats in that. And, saturated fats are not good for your cholesterol at all. So I would keep the ground beef that's heavy in fat to a minimum. I would stick to the lean stuff like the 92.8, 93.7, even if you really want to go crazy, 90.10. But again, I'm not saying you can't have the fatty stuff, but just keep it to a minimum as much as you can. Eggs. Eggs is one of the most nutrient dense foods you can have, right? A lot of people, or a lot of articles rather, will say that eggs are bad for your cholesterol and stuff, and yeah, they do have some saturated fats, but you get so many vitamins from having eggs. It's like the pros outweigh the cons, and the macros are great on it. I just don't see the point of missing out on something like that, especially when you have eggs. It doesn't make you feel super full, like you feel satiated, and you're not super lethargic or anything when you have it. If you're going to have it for breakfast or something, which most people do, you feel good, right? You feel good, you have energy, and you can move on with the day. Great protein. Yeah, I would stick with eggs, to be honest with you, as well. I would incorporate that in the diet. Next up, we have steak. Steak kind of follows the same steps as the ground beef. Um, you just want to be careful with how much fat is in the steak, right? I would rather obviously get a leaner cut of steak, because saturated fats, again, kind of the same principles apply. But you know, if realistically, if you're having lean cuts of beef, I think you're okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, you don't want to make. I think that you should add a bit more variety to your diet, right? You don't want to just have steak and ground beef all the time. Have chicken, have maybe turkey. I didn't put turkey on this list, but I'm going to add that once I upload this file. Turkey's another great option. Yeah, anything like that that's just lean at the end of the day is great for you. All right. So, salmon. Um, Again, great, awesome source of protein. High in protein, good amino acid chain profile. Um, has good fats in there. What else can I say? That's pretty much it. That's what you're looking for when you're getting these protein sources. Okay, and the salmon kind of follows the same thing as the eggs. You're not you're not super full after you eat it, right? You can eat and feel like you can move on with the day, which is kind of the way you want to feel. You don't want to feel super heavy and you kind of feel like you get this food coma almost. Okay, so again, great source of protein. Yogurt. So if you haven't tried this, this is actually a great addition to your meals. Some of you might not like it. Some of you might like it. But if you take Greek plain yogurt, like literally no fat, no nothing, and with high protein, and you could put that over a meal, oh my God. Like you could do that with rice and chicken. I know it sounds weird, but don't knock it until you try it. Okay. It actually tastes quite nice. Um, but yeah, I mean, if I'm low on protein and I want to throw something in on top of my meal, you can easily get 15 grams of protein through one of those little cups of protein. Excuse me, cups of yogurt. Um, so yeah, I would throw that in definitely. Next up, we have whey protein. Now, a lot of people are like, why would you put something like that on this list? If you get a good quality protein powder, you shouldn't worry that much. If you're getting something low quality with like all this processing and all that stuff, then yeah, okay, I would see why you're worried. But if you get something good that's been through as little processing as possible, you can supplement. That's the whole point. Some people are 220 pounds. Like, how many pieces of chicken or ground beef are they going to have during the day? It's just sometimes you need a shake, right? Sometimes you're just so tired of chewing food that maybe some protein powder can come in handy. That's why it's a supplement, right? So now that we've went over the protein, and by the way, these are all they have a good complete amino acid chain profile for the most part. So now that we're done with the protein, let's move on to the carbs, right? So main carb sources: rice, oats, potatoes, and veg. Very simple. I didn't add pasta on that list because pasta is just it's just highly processed. Okay, so I would stay away from that kind of stuff. Um, Again, you want to stick to your complex carbohydrates. These are examples of complex carbohydrates: rice, oats, potatoes, veg. And you want to stay away from the stuff like the simple sugars, right? Like the candy and all that bad stuff. You don't want to be consuming that for the most part. Okay, you want to keep that down to a minimum because that's the stuff that really spikes your insulin, and you don't want to do that. This won't spike your insulin as much if you have the rice, oats, potatoes, and veg. Um, and by the way, vegetables do have carbs in them. It's just like tomatoes, for example. You have carbs in potatoes, uh, carbs in tomatoes. My God, I can't talk today. But um, the thing about tomatoes is it's very low in calories, right? It has carbs, but it's very low. I mean, I wouldn't worry about like 20, 30 calories worth of carbs like in a tomato. Like it's just not something you really have to worry about unless you're like doing a bodybuilding competition. But other than that, I think you don't really have to track something like that. Yeah, so these are complex carbs. These are the four I would really stick to. Again, it just makes my life easier when I'm tracking stuff. Um, and yeah, that's it. For the fats, now the fats, um, again, stick to avocado, nuts, olive oil, the butter. The thing about the butter, obviously, you have saturated fats, but as long as you're realistically not overdoing it, you should be okay. All right. Olive oil, great source of fats. Nuts, great source of fats. Avocado, same thing, great source of fats, right? Because they don't contain saturated fats, avocado and olive oil, right? So, um, yeah, I mean, those are pretty much the main staples of my diet. Again, I could sit here and add to this list, but it's just I try to keep stuff as basic as possible, especially when you're training people. You want to make people's lives easier, right? You don't want to kind of make a whole list of stuff and super complex. And you want to kind of stick to the basics, stick to the stuff that's easy to track for you and easy to prep, right? You don't want to get into all the fancy stuff. Of course you can. If you're comfortable with that and you're willing to buy all the ingredients and do all that jazz, you can do that. But again, for whoever I'm training or whoever I'm just even giving a little bit of advice to on nutrition, keep it basic, right? 80% rule, 80-20 rule. 80% clean, and then 20% kind of, you have a little bit of freedom there to indulge a little bit. Okay. You have to be very strategic when you're indulging. So that will be for another video though, because that's a whole new avenue of, stuff. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty short video, but I just wanted to go over that stuff. This document's not completed yet. I am going to complete it though, and I will upload it on my school community. So make sure you sign up to it. It's literally a free community, so anybody can have access to it. It's free right now too. So if you get it right now when it's free, you'll have it free for the rest of your life. Maybe in the future it will be a paid community. You'll have to pay to get in. So, you know, I would get it now because it's literally going to cost you nothing forever. So once you get it for free, you have it for free. If you're late, you got to pay for it, right? Whenever that deadline's going to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one.